Greetings my friends and acolytes, and welcome back to the archives. With the release of the trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3, we have the knowledge that this arc of Din Djarin's story will be all about the legacy of Mandalore, more specifically its survival and who will ultimately rule. Bo-Katan Kryze originally made herself out to be a friend of Din, helping him in the rescue of Grogu, and unintentionally aided in the recovery of the Darksaber, making Din Djarin the rightful ruler of Mandalore. This entire problem is going to be the focal point of the third season, it seems. But of course, none of this would have happened if not for the tragedy that was the Great Purge of Mandalore and the Night of 1,000 Tears. The Jedi weren't the only ones that suffered genocide at the hands of the Empire. Mandalore itself had practically been glassed by a bombing raid, which went down in the Mandalorian history, again, as the Night of 1,000 Tears. This is how Moff Gideon acquired the Darksaber, which brings us to this holocron. Before Season 3 of The Mandalorian premieres, we thought we would dive into the pages of history and find out exactly how and why the Empire caused the Night of 1,000 Tears to happen. So don your helmets, my friends. Be sure not to remove them, because now we begin. Our story begins at the twilight of the Siege of Mandalore, right at the tail end of the Clone Wars. At this point, General Grievous had been defeated by the Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin was discovering the truth about the Chancellor, and Ahsoka was on her way back from dueling Maul on her ship. The Republic had left Bo-Katan as a regent ruler over Mandalore, since she and her people had aided them in the fight on the front lines to reclaim the world from Maul. However, the Republic also left a detachment of clones on the world to oversee the transition of power from the Death Watch to Bo-Katan. All was well until Order 66 happened. After the Jedi were taken care of, Palpatine set out an order for the newly reformed Imperial military to gain control of Mandalore, identifying the Mandalorians as a potential threat to his rule. Obviously, Bo-Katan fought back, not wishing to have Mandalore subjugated by the Galactic Empire just after winning it back from Maul. Palpatine officially denounced Bo-Katan as regent of Mandalore and instated Gar Saxon as their new leader. Bo-Katan wanted to fight back, but the Civil War had left the Mandalorians weakened, and with many supporters of Saxon's pro-imperial propaganda, they chose to comply rather than rise up in arms against their new leaders. After the Darksaber arc of Star Wars Rebels, which saw Sabine Wren as the temporary wielder and master of the Darksaber, the Empire gained knowledge to building a weapon that was effective against Beskar armor. Though Sabine and Bo-Katan managed to destroy both weapon prototypes and topple the rule of Gar Saxon, the Empire was not done with Mandalore. Meanwhile, Sabine decided to surrender the Darksaber to Bo-Katan as a gift, thus giving her the right to rule. However, a certain sect of warriors, known as the Children of the Watch, were disgusted by this gesture and saw it as an affront to their ways, since the saber was not rightfully won in combat. Because of this, they believed that by accepting the Darksaber willingly, Bo-Katan had brought a curse down upon the Mandalorian people, and that Bo-Katan had dishonored their people, and unfortunately for her, in Mandalore itself, they were not far off. The Empire was fuming that they had lost control of Mandalore yet again, as it was an incredibly powerful system, both military-wise as well as financially. If they didn't act immediately, then perhaps Mandalore might rise up against them, or even, if worse came to worse, join the Rebel Alliance. It was far too powerful of a system to be left alone, as if the Mandalorians decided to rise up, which knowing the Mandalorians they probably would have, it would have been a massive problem for the Empire. Sidious certainly wouldn't allow that. We all know how efficient Sidious is at taking care of small problems before they become larger ones. As Din Djarin put it, once the Empire knew they couldn't control it, they made sure no one else could either. On a special assignment, the Emperor dispatched a powerful detachment of the Imperial Navy, led directly by our Moff Gideon, to the planet of Mandalore. Rather than attempting to fight the Mandalorians on their own terms by a way of a surface attack, which they most likely would have lost, the Empire instead used a series of air raids by the way of TIE surface attack bombers. By doing this, the Empire could avoid the complication of having to face the mighty Mandalorian warriors in head-on confrontation. Because, let's be honest, it isn't like a legion of stormtroopers were going to be effective at all, an effective fighting force against someone like the Mandalorians. This wasn't just any planet they were trying to conquer. The Mandalorians as a people whose ancestors waged war against the Jedi Order and nearly won. It could even be said that the greatest threat to Palpatine's rule, besides of course the Jedi themselves, were the Mandalorians. Cowardly, maybe, but effective. Absolutely. In the event known as the Night of 1,000 Tears, the surface of Mandalore would be utterly destroyed by the Imperial Air Raids. At some point during the battle, there was a ground force detachment led by Moff Gideon to clean things up. During that, he managed to claim the Darksaber from Bo-Katan, and with that, Mandalore had officially fallen. Almost all the citizens of Mandalore were killed in this genocide, and the remaining Mandalorians were scattered throughout the stars, some of them clumping up into tribes such as the Children of the Watch, which Din Djarin himself was a part of. As the spoils of war, the Empire claimed for themselves the stores of Beskar that was on Mandalore, and they stamped them into ingots. Unfortunately, the Beskar mines were destroyed during these bombings, one of the greatest atrocities ever committed against a Mandalorian. However, not all was lost. As for the Mandalorians themselves, it appears that they managed to thrive by inducting a liberal amount of foundlings, such as Din Djarin himself. They moved around, never revealed their location, and kept to a creed of rules, known as the Way, in order to stay alive. With that said though, this is absolutely one of the most terrible things that Darth Sidious and the Empire as a whole has ever committed. But it is very much in line with who Sidious is, destroying anything that could threaten his rule as soon as they even showed a sign of it. If the Mandalorians had actually joined the Rebel Alliance, Darth Sidious would have been crushed much more swiftly than he was. The Mandalorians were fearsome fighters and would stand up perfectly against individuals like the Stormtroopers or Imperial officers. If allowed to mobilize, they would have absolutely decimated the ranks of the Empire if they joined the rebellion. This goes to show you just how dangerous the Mandalorians truly were to Sidious's rule, but as is the case with most things, Darth Sidious knew how dangerous they were as well, and did not underestimate this foe like he would Vader and Luke. The Night of 1,000 Tears will be an integral part of the next season of The Mandalorian, as now the rightful owner of the Darksaber in Din Djarin must make the difficult decision. Will he rise to the task and unite his people yet again under a single banner led by the Darksaber? Or will the vengeance that has consumed so many reach out to Bo-Katan, as she herself seeks redemption in the weapon? Which of the two of them will unite Mandalore? And what do you think we will learn from the very world of Mandalore that was glassed by the Empire during the Night of 1,000 Tears? I absolutely cannot wait for the third season of The Mandalorian, as the stakes have never been higher, and the Mandalorian people as a whole are beginning to take the forefront as they should, being born from the ashes of their former world in the form of Din Djarin and others that he seeks to unite. But my friends and fellow seekers of knowledge, this is the tale of the great Mandalorian purge, the Night of 1,000 Tears, and the falls of one of the greatest warrior cultures in all of Star Wars lore. But now I ask you, are you as excited for Season 3 of The Mandalorian as we are? Do you think that in the end, Mandalore will be ruled by Bo-Katan or Din Djarin? Or perhaps do you think that something else entirely may happen? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, may the Force be with you. I hope to see you soon, and have a great day.